Hey guys, Doug from Rifleman. So today we're going to be going over the SOF T Wide tourniquet. Yesterday we went over the Cat Gen 7. Today we're going to talk about the SOF T Wide. This video hopefully won't be as long. We're just going to go over the differences between the SOF T and the Cat, and then use of the SOF T, and a little bit of maybe when you'd like to use this over the Cat. And yeah, so let's get into it. So the SOF T Wide is a slightly different tourniquet. It uses a single band around the leg, or whatever limb you're using. So if you remember, on the Cat Gen 7 you had that inner band that went through the outer band. On this one, the windlass is connected to the same webbing material as the tourniquet is made of. So when you start binding the windlass, it simply, you can see it right here, retracts on the entire band. This is both good and bad in my opinion. It's still an effective tourniquet, that's not what I mean, but you will find this to be, at least I find this to be slightly less comfortable, especially if it's on bare skin, than the Cat tourniquets. You just have a higher propensity to pinch with this and just cause bind points on the skin. It's pretty uncomfortable, but it's a solid tourniquet, it's a very durable tourniquet, and some people prefer it for that reason. It is harder to apply one-handed than a Cat tourniquet, which is why many people choose to carry a Cat tourniquet for their self-aid, and they'll keep these in their aid bag for applying to other people or for doing deliberate tourniquets. We'll talk about the difference between a hasty and deliberate tourniquet in another video. I touched on it in the video on the Cat Gen 7, but I didn't define anything and I didn't go down that road. So we'll talk about that in a separate video. So let's grab a Gen 7 Cat, and we'll talk about some of the major differences. So the biggest difference between these tourniquets that most people will understand and relate, and this is kind of the selling point for most people, is the difference in windlass. So on the Cat, you have a plastic or polymer windlass. On the SOF T Wide, you have a steel, or I think it's steel, it might be aluminum, but it's a metal windlass. So since it's a metal windlass, you can use the SOF T Wide to do your practice with. So you don't have to worry about it. It's not a single-use item. You can practice over and over and over again with it, and it shouldn't damage the tourniquet. It's made out of pretty straightforward, simple, and durable materials. You have your 1.5-inch webbing, your metal windlass, and then metal clippings. There's not much on here to wear out. There is a heavier nylon padding right here with a rubber traction aid. It kind of helps give you a little bit more to pull onto, but you'll see in the video, doing this single-handed is much more challenging than, say, with a Cat tourniquet. So as far as disconnecting the tourniquet, you have, at least on the newer generation of the SOF T Wide, you have a clip right here that you can separate this. So if you have to feed this through a limb or around a limb, say you have someone that's pinned in a vehicle or something, you can feed this through, come through, make sure you have no twists, and you can clip her back in and get your tourniquet on. Same thing with the Cat. This is an important thing to consider when you're putting on a tourniquet. You need to be able to feed it through a limb if you have someone that's pinned into a certain position. So with that being said, we'll go into use. There's not much more to cover on the tourniquet. There is a very cool way to stow it that makes it quite smaller than a Cat Gen 7 in a stow position. I'm not going to go over how to do that. There's a plethora of videos on the internet that will show you. Just YouTube how to stow a SOF T Wide tourniquet and you will see those videos. Find one that's helpful for you, that coordinates with your brain, and you can get a nice small package with your tourniquet. But let's see, I should have one somewhere. Oh. One day I'll get better at setting this up for you guys. But here's one in stowage configuration. You can see it is fairly small compared to the Cat tourniquet. So the plastic clip right here and the Velcro material on the Cat makes it a little bit bulkier, and you can get these SOF T Wides in a much more easily managed package. So pretty cool. And then you can stick these are pretty, once you get them set up and get them, they're pretty dang rigid. You can stick these into pockets, bags, rubber band them onto kit, put them on rifle stocks. If you're trying to just put a tourniquet in a weird place, this might be a great way to go. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and do a quick demonstration on how you apply. I'm going to go ahead and change the angles up so that we can do this a little easier for you guys to see. Alrighty guys, so hopefully I'm in frame, but the legs are more important than me at this exact moment. So we're going to do a quick demonstration on self-application on a leg with the SOF T compared to a cat tourniquet. This is the newer generation SOF T with the disconnecting buckle. It's kind of a bear to get out of there, but you can, in fact, get them in and get it out. The reason that's important is so that, say the leg's pinned, you can take the tourniquet, feed it through the affected limb, come through, make sure you don't have any twists, and then reconnect to your tourniquet to get your full band, and then get your tightening. So that's why it's important to have a tourniquet that you can disconnect. Obviously on the cats, you just pull it through the buckle, thread it through, rethread, and pull tight. On this one, you have a buckle, pull the buckle out, go around the limb, set the buckle back, loop it, make sure it's set inside the groove, and then get your tightening. So, same thing as on a cat T. I like to have the tail of the tourniquet, the loose tail, going to the inside of the leg. Helps me get that initial tightening. Get your initial tightening. There is a bit of rubber, 2 rubber strips on the flattened, larger piece of nylon right there to help give you a little bit of traction. Strangely enough, I find it easier to get that initial tightening with the cat than I do with the SOF T, but we'll do our best to get that initial tightening. Grab that, get it as tight as you can. Now, on the SOF T Wide, since the windlass goes to the tourniquet band itself, so this webbing that goes through the windlass is actually the same webbing that goes around your leg. There's only one strip of webbing here. So you have a lot more flexibility on how much you can twist the windlass, which is good because I do find that it takes me more twists with the windlass on the SOF T Wide tourniquet to get occlusion. Now, instead of having a clip like this that has a clip, an open top clip, and then a Velcro securement tab, you have a plastic or polymer triangular ring right here that you're going to clip one of these 2 notches on either end of the windlass into to secure the tourniquet, kind of like that. It's a much more positive engagement once you get tension on the tourniquet. So we'll go ahead and get occlusion because I love you guys. Now you can see this can be pretty challenging with one hand, or with 2 hands. With one hand, it's nearly impossible. All right. So that's an effective tourniquet with the SOF T. You have your running tail here, and securement of this tail is not nearly as critical on a SOF T Wide since it's not relying on Velcro to keep the tension. It's relying on the buckle. So just to keep things neat and pretty, you can secure this if you want to, however you see fit. But that's just to keep everything clean in your work area good. If you're working on another patient, if you have tails going everywhere, medical waste, wrappers and crap, it can be frustrating. Now on the SOF T Wide, it is important to note you have a time tab right here on the end of the tail. That's where you're going to record your tourniquet time. You can also use the patient itself as your time, writing it on the forehead with a Sharpie, the TQ, and then the time, preferably in 24-hour designation. So now, in comparison with that to the cat tourniquet, you're going to do the same thing, slip it over the leg or run it through the leg if you have to in a pin case. You're going to grab your tail, get your tightening, secure your tail, at least mostly, get your go. This tourniquet's on its way out. Gosh. You can see the windlass torquing. This is a single-use item that's been used for years. So, all right, and now you can see the difference in the two tourniquets. Both are extraordinarily effective at getting occlusion, and both hurt. So, that being said, getting the tourniquets off the cat is much easier to get off, which is awesome in training. But not obvious. It's obviously not good real life. You don't want to have your tourniquets coming off. The cat is a secure tourniquet. You just need to be cognizant that it can be popped, and you need to be cognizant of that and make sure that you're rechecking your tourniquet anytime you move the patient, and make sure that your patient isn't messing with the tourniquet. On the SOF Wide, you're gonna free this from the triangle clip, unwind your windlass, try to work your webbing out, and then hopefully that gives you enough tension that you can kind of push on this buckle a little bit and then pull your threading out. Oh my goodness, that feels incredible. If you've never had a tourniquet on and taken it off and let all the blood flow back through your leg, you can like feel your individual veins and arteries all filling back up through your leg. It's a wonderful feeling. But so that is the self-application of the SOF Wide in comparison to a cat tourniquet on a limb or on a leg. Now on an arm is where things get particularly tricky. So with this tourniquet set up to be put on a leg, putting it on an arm can be harder without some familiarization with the tourniquet. I'm gonna scoot forward a little bit, make sure I'm in frame. So I'm not gonna do full occlusion on this time. I've put a lot of tourniquets on in the last 3 days and it hurts. So, but we will go through the process. So obviously you can't just grab the tail and pull. I mean, I guess you could, but it's gonna take you an unnecessary amount of time. What I do is I use my face, I just pin the tourniquet. That gets it tight enough that the rubber engagement point of the this strap right here can get bound onto the actual patient's arm. And once you get that, you can kind of get your initial tightening that way. And then go ahead and start spinning. Actually, I lied, I'll do full occlusion to demonstrate how challenging this is. With the triangle lock. All right. So we have the triangle lock right here. I'm going to try to use my hand to pin this and then pick up the triangle. So your triangle can move in a little piece of webbing. I'll demonstrate that in a second. It can be helpful if you get the tourniquet windlass. There we go. Okay. So I should have another. I'm not going to do that. So you can see how there's a piece of webbing right here that the ring is secured in. I'll push this out and let that go. So you can see you have some room to travel your securement ring. And as this windlass shifts in the webbing, because as the webbing starts binding, it gets narrower in size, it can shift, left or right, and that can shorten or lengthen the windlass in comparison to the placement of the ring. So there is some wiggle room on where that ring goes. So you can see obviously that is much more challenging than the cat tourniquet to apply one-handed. Just gonna pop the clip, hypothetically. perhaps. There we go. But yeah, so for self-application to an arm especially, the cat tourniquet is way easier to use. You guys saw in the demonstration yesterday. If you haven't seen it, look at my cat Gen 7 tourniquet video. Towards the end of that video, I demonstrate using this tourniquet on an arm, and it is incredibly easy, especially compared to the SOF Tactical Wide. So for self-application, the cat is probably the way to go unless you are a particularly large fellow and need a larger tourniquet. Now, if you are a larger fellow, I'd recommend carrying 2 tourniquets for sure, because you will find likely that you need 2 tourniquets to occlude a leg, the femoral artery. So, with that being said, I hope you guys found this helpful in making decisions between the 2 tourniquets for your uses. I do carry the soft tourniquets in my aid pack, but I have more of the Cat 7s. I use a Cat 7 for my EDC tourniquet. Even though it's bulkier, I just find it so much easier to apply on an arm that I think it's worth the extra bulk to carry a cat tourniquet. This is the decision I've come to. Either tourniquet is an excellent tourniquet, an excellent option. Even if you're not able to get this tourniquet windlass secured with one hand, you can still hold it in place if you're not in a high-risk situation. If you don't need both hands and your only concern is to stop the bleeding, you can hold that windlass in place until EMS arrives, and they can give you a hand with getting it secured.
On this episode of figuring out how to do a one-handed SOF T wide without being able to use the triangle. And it was in fact able to be done one-handed. Pretty neat.
Obviously it's not the best case scenario, but it beats the heck out of bleeding to death. So with that being said, it is an excellent tourniquet. It's proven time and time again, just like the cat. They're both incredibly effective tourniquets. It's just really a matter of personal preference, which one you prefer, which one you're comfortable with, and which one you find easier in training. So I'd recommend picking up both and giving them both a try and seeing what you think, and then coming to your own conclusions on how you're going to employ these tourniquets. With that being said, it's been Doug with Matic Rifleman, because everywhere deserves good and capable riflemen. I hope y'all have a fantastic day. Also, it's Friday, so get after it and prepare for the Sabbath. It's Father's gift to you. Don't poo-poo with Father's gifts. Y'all have a blessed day.